Okay guys, that has sufficiently cooled. So, got a new tube of this. I'm hoping it's good. We'll wait and see. Ooh, looks good. Perfect. Love it. Now I mixed up a pretty good batch because we've got quite a little bit of filling to do and covering a lot of area. So because I know I'm going to use a bunch, I went ahead and made a bunch. Normally I like to work in much smaller batches. So let's get to it. I'm trying to work it down into that hole, so hopefully it'll bond the two pieces of the Centurion shell together at the same time gluing both of those shell pieces to the strife shell. So everybody's getting stuck to everybody. Again, trying to work it down into the crack there so we can get good adhesion to everybody. I like to get it down into the crack as much as possible since we'll be sanding off most of the stuff on the top. So I think that is good. Okay, now we'll let that cure up all the way and then we'll take another look at it. Okay, I think this is pretty well cured, so we're going to open it up and look at reinforcing the joints on the inside a little bit. And to cut our tape here, just holding these two guys together. And open her up. Take the screw out, otherwise we'll be heartbroken. Okay. Hang on to that. Now the top half, the top side of all of our joints here in the back are all still free floating, and we don't necessarily want that. So now, since we have everything established on the outside, we can come through and I'm gonna tack in the corners, tack this, tack that, put little daubs here and there, and once we have the kind of the perimeter secured, instead of loading up this whole area with Devcon, because that'll take forever and it'll be expensive, I picked up some epoxy putty, and what we're going to use that for is to pack in kind of behind and around to help reinforce and support the strife shell. And we're not using that necessarily for the bonding, but just for the support along with the Devcon. So, in fact, yeah. So we'll go ahead and get ready to mix up some more Devcon, and we'll just kind of like, probably in here, probably put a little bit there. That's anchored down pretty good. Probably put a dab there, and up in here. Just spots where it's pretty close, where the joint is going to be pretty close, because we don't want to try to build up a big stack of Devcon, because it'll settle a little bit, and we might have to reapply a couple times. So we're just going to get kind of the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. So, mix up another batch. Okay, now the back end of the shell here is kind of floating just a little bit. You can kind of hear it tap, 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 tap. To make sure that it's getting pushed to where it's supposed to be when it cures, I'm going to go ahead and stick the two shells back together. That way, we're not running the risk of the shell kind of floating up a little bit and then curing, and then the strife sandwiching together before the Centurion part does and causing issues. This way it's curing the way it's going to be when it's finished, making sure everybody is closed up nice and tight so we don't have any potential issues. So give that a few more minutes to cure, and then we'll open it up and we'll reinforce the other side of the shell. Okay, everything seems to be good to go there, so we'll flip it over. A little wiggle. Make sure we don't have any Devcon on the inside where the strife shells are going to meet, or I guess any of the shells for that matter. And we'll go ahead and close it back up, just like last time, until that sets. And you know, for the heck of it, while we're waiting, I think let's clean up some of these joints a little bit. And just take our giant flat file and just take off some of the excess. Just start cleaning it up a little bit. We're gonna be moving on to the grip and the barrel next, so let's clean up some of this just so it looks better overall, so we don't see so many of these lines breaking it up everywhere, just to help the visuals look better so we can kind of translate what's going on better. So I'm just laying the file flat as I can and just trying to slowly just kind of eat it down level. Looks a little better. Well, the inside ought to be cured up. Pretty good, I'd say. I think good enough we can open it back up. Messy. Okay. Where's my stick? Okay. Now for sure I want to add some across the top here and here. For one thing, it's going to be visible. Oh, I'm talking about epoxy putty. Across the top of the magwell, since that's going to be visible from through the jam door, so I want to have a nice smooth line there, plus that'll give reinforcement to that whole side of the shell, especially here where there's not a whole lot there, just kind of floating. And also here in the bottom, put a nice little bead and smooth it out, just so we also there again have a nice smooth transition from the Centurion magwell to the strife. We're also going to add some here on the very kind of tail section, which you might ask, hey, why did you leave the stock attachment for the strife? Because, well, you're not going to attach a stock from inside the shell. I left that strictly as a mount for the return spring for the strife port. That's pretty much it. So I think we're going to put some epoxy putty in this area, probably some down here under the trigger area just to give that extra support since that's moving parts. Across the top here, there again, because there is going to be a certain amount of torsional load here, so a couple bead blobs there. I think the front secured pretty well, and then on this side, probably some in here just for, again, support under the mount, and a couple here across there. So, and just wherever feels good. Go ahead and use this junk for a while. I don't like it. It does okay for this application, but for actual integration, I just don't like it. I don't trust it. There's a reason for that, but that's another story for another time. Should be wearing gloves, but alas, I don't have gloves. This crumbly, nasty stuff. What the heck? Ugh. Crumble. Stinks. This stuff's gunky. Okay, that's looking like a pretty uniform color. So we'll start with the important structurally type stuff. Now it's a little bit under here. I squeezed up a little bit into where the battery tray is. There's the holes where the little battery separators are. I pushed a little bit up into that to help kind of keep it locked in. That way if it doesn't adhere well, it's at least locked in through that little hole. So that'll help that. Okay, getting ready for another crumbly mess. Zoom out so you can see what's going on. I hate this stuff. I'm hoping it's just the crappy brand. Okay, too slow. It's already barely pliable, so. Oh well. Yeah, no saving it. Over here, I don't know what the heck this is for on the strife. I think this is part of the part that kind of came up and left you just a little tiny window for the jam door. I think we're just gonna snip it out and hope it's not important, because I don't think it is. So, whoop, there we go. I think that's gonna make our lives happier later. All right, so I think we'll let that stuff cure a little bit. Well, you know what? We got some of this junk. I don't want to keep it around. So, and maybe we'll see if we can fit some there. Okay, I think our putty is set. So now, I think we can move on to bigger and better things. So for starters, let's that way. Let's start looking at fitting the barrel. We had the barrel kind of fitting in roughly a while back, but I think since then we moved the motors forward. So let's zoom. With the motors hanging out past the shell and running into the barrel guy, then we need to, let's see, where's my marking thing? Marker, there we go. Let's take a quick look. We have, okay, running into the cage here. So we need to open that up a little bit there. And a little bit here, looks like, because the mounting guys are in the way. So, looks like we need to go a little bit wider there too. And what the heck, yeah, go wider there. And, you know what, yeah, let's, and you know what, let's, looks like I'm getting closer right into the shell here and here. And here. So let's trim that off. And we're just roughing stuff in, so we'll just clipper it. Okay, let's see where that got us. Okay, still running into the motors there. Oh, yeah, we're gonna be running 180s on this thing. So I'm just gonna clip this whole side off because we're not gonna be able to just work around 180s. So, boom. A little bit more. Okay, running into the strife right there, so let's clip a little bit more off of that. Okay, just barely touching the cage right there. So okay, you can kind of see, whoa, just right here, touching the cage, so we'll trim that back a little bit more. Okay, we gotta be getting close now. Okay, clear there, clear there, clear there. Okay, I think we are fitting. And like I said, I think I'm going to go ahead, let's zoom out, and just glue the barrel right to this. That way we can blend everybody together nice. Blend that in, we'll be able to build a clearance here. Once this is established, we get the barrel on, then I think we can open up the cage and slide some Hellcats in and see just how much room we need. I'm hoping that the addition of the Centurion shell gives us enough clearance that we don't need to add another external motor cover to clear the wiring and the end bell on the Hellcats. So that's yet to be seen. So I think we're going to go ahead and, well, tough call, because it's kind of a slip-in fit, and I was originally going to just tack it with some glue and then Devcon it, but it'd be nice if we could maintain the crisp line at the seam, so that we could still kind of, when we paint it, we could still give it the illusion of it being a separate piece or a separate panel or whatever. And so, in order to have good enough adhesion when we're sanding it all the way off, I know we'll have access to the backside, but I'm thinking what we're gonna do, because once it locks in, it doesn't have very much room. It fits in there, you know, somewhat loosely, but once it's in there, you can lock it in pretty good. I'm thinking what we'll do is pull it out, put some Devcon there, and on top of here, and in here, and just slide it together. That way there's Devcon inside, like inside of the joints, and then hopefully some will gush out and we can kind of wipe it off and give it a nice clean line. And then we can add some, like down in here, add some additional support even here. Can't think of anything else we need to do, because we can't really build any housing or cover for the cage to blend the hole in the shell here to cover the motors until this is established here. So I think, you know, we're doing so good right now. I think we're gonna go ahead and stick the barrel on, and I think we'll have just enough Devcon to do that. Boy, this tube went quick. All right, gang, let's go. Just making sure there's no weird anything that locks in. Beautiful. This little gappage of the shell makes me a little nervous. I'm thinking I might put some hot glue and just kind of dab the shells together, just to make sure that, you know, the alignment is correct. That way when we finally screw everything together, both seams will line up the same. So, actually, we can just tape it. You know what? We're just gonna tape it. So, barrel. Pull this joint nice and closed, nice and tight. Nice and even, shells matching up nice, okay. And I think we'll give it a little bit at the bottom just to make extra sure. That's just gonna hold that guy together nice and tight. And I'll take a piece here and we'll lap it over right here. Pull a shell nice and tight over and bring it down there. I said a little tighter than that. Nice and tight. That's pretty nice. And I think we'll go one more. Together nice. It's holding together nice. That guy goes together. Seams line up. I think we're ready for action. So let's get an idea. We got mating surfaces. Oh, that's nice. We got a nice flat surface here. It mates up to a flat surface here, so that's nice. We'll have basically, we just like load this whole pocket here and here, and that'll lock it in real good. Add a little bit there, and on the top. Yeah, I'm happy with that. While we're at it, I think I had some sandpaper out here earlier. We'll just use the wire brush. Maybe we'll use the wire brush. And just scratch up some of this glossy stuff here. Give it some nice bite. And while we're at it, we'll scratch around in there. Just we got some little pockets and stuff, so we'll rough those guys up. That flat surface there. And just for good measure, we'll rough up this. Just cut the gloss off of it. Okay, we're good. I think that should be sufficient. So now we go back. Stick some right in there so we have some left over. Okay. Now I got some gushing out, so we want to come through and just kind of pick that out as good as we can, because I'll tell you that'll be a pain in the neck if we have to sand that area. So I'll just get what we can, these little areas. Now the barrel had a tendency to want to kind of tip down a little bit just because it was a loose fit, so it just kind of naturally hang down. So I think I'm going to let it rest on the barrel, so hopefully it'll encourage it up just a hair, just so it'll, because it seems to be aligned better when it's slightly up. Actually, if we just do that. If we stand it on end, can we stand it on end? Dang, almost. No, let's just verify that everybody is aligned correctly. We'll sight down it. Hold like that. 2. Okay, I'm just holding it and sighting down the top rail, down the seam, and just making sure that the barrel is straight. It looked like it was cocked slightly to the right, so we'll correct that. Eyeball that. Okay. Now we'll let that guy cure, but hey, get a load of this. It's starting to look like a blaster now. And that's cool. So now we get into more of the fun part. We have something that actually looks like a gun blaster. So now we can actually start doing stuff to it now that we're to this point. So next, I think we'll reinforce this joint a little bit. We might open it up and add a little more to the back side of this joint because the barrel's probably going to take a beating just in storage and getting played with. So I want to make sure that the barrel joint is nice and strong. So I think after this cures, we'll open it up, double check, and add some more to the back side of this seam, add some more here, and just make sure it's good and solid before we start looking at adding the front grip area.